Tim Linder here. Let's talk about opening and viewing images inside of Photoshop. So I've got this folder full of images here, and if I wanted to open them into Photoshop or open one into Photoshop, there's a lot of different ways that I can do it. One of the ways that I can do it is I can hold Shift maybe on my desktop and or Command and select non-contiguous files. I could grab a couple JPEGs here and I could drop them right on the icon for Photoshop, and here they come. They'll open up inside of Photoshop. Now you'll see that I only have the hot air balloon seemingly. I can open up multiple images in Photoshop, and you'll see that up here in the top bar I've got 3 images that are in these tabs. I've got hot air balloon, I've got a fish, and then I've got an untitled image over here as well. And if I click on those tabs, I'm going to jump to those images. So my original untitled image that I had opened in an earlier video by choosing File New and opened a new 8.5 by 11 document, I've now got Fish JPEG and Hot Air Balloon JPEG. I can also go to File Open, and I can go to choose from a specific file and open that. So if I go to File Open, and then I choose my desktop here, I go into my Class 2 Images Files folder, and I can choose, let's say, Portrait JPEG, and I can open that from there as well. I can also hold down the Command key or Shift key and select multiple images. You'll see that it opens a JPEG or a PSD. I can also open an Illustrator image or other types of images. When we get into other types, sometimes you might get a dialog box of how it's going to convert that other type to make it a Photoshop file or something workable inside of Photoshop. But I'm just going to go ahead and click this portrait image and open that up. So now I've got these 4 images in different tabs opened up. If I wanted to look at them differently, I could also go to Window, Arrange, and instead of having them in tabs, I could tile them all vertically. So I can see each of them differently, or a portion of them differently. Window, Arrange, let's say consolidate all the tabs. I can jump back to the tabs. I can also take these Windows tabs just like I can in the panels and click on them and move them around and maybe float them. So now notice that the portrait image is now floating on top of everything, and I could work on it. One of the things that I don't necessarily like about doing this is, let's say that you go back to this tab is kind of floating here on top. If I click back here and let's say get the hot air balloon and click on it, the portrait kind of goes away and it says, oh, where did it go? I don't see it up here. I don't see that portrait in a tab anymore. If I click and I look, notice it's kind of hiding behind my application frame back there behind the application. It kind of gets hidden back there sometimes if you float it and then choose a different image. You can also always see a list of all the images that you have open under Window, and then down here at the bottom you've got a list of all the images that you've got open. And if I wanted to jump back over to that portrait image, I could do that and it will jump it back in the front, and I could always click on the little bar here and hide it or put it back up into the panel, and then there it is. Or if it was floated and then hidden, I could always go to Window, Arrange, consolidate all the tabs as well, and I could put it back up there in the tab. So just different ways of viewing multiple images at the same time. Now if you also have different images and maybe they're two of the same image maybe open and you're maybe make a duplicate or something like that, and you're wanting to compare 2 different images. So I'm going to close some of these images. I'm going to get rid of my portrait image. I'm going to get rid of my fish image. I'm going to get rid of my untitled image. And I've just got my hot air image up here right now. And if I choose Image, Duplicate, I could copy this image. So now I have a duplicate of it. They're technically the same thing right now. However, if I wanted to go to Window, Arrange, and let's say 2 up vertical, I could see both images at the same time. That way, if I'm going through and I'm doing some sort of image adjustment, adjust hue and saturation, let's say, and I make some sort of changes, notice I'm changing one image, and on the other side I'm kind of comparing it to my original. I could do that if I wanted to. We'll get into some of those different image adjustments. So also, if you're having a couple images open that are certainly duplicate, one's a duplicate of the other, if you go to some of the tools that you work with later, let's say the hand tool or the zoom tool, you'll see that with my zoom tool I can make a checkbox here and its options to, let's say, zoom all windows. That way if I'm zooming in on this side, it's also zooming in on this side so that I'm seeing the same thing on both sides. If that were unchecked, then it's only going to zoom in on one side and not the other side. So those are just different ways of opening different panels and taking a look at your images in different ways.